We're also talking about what must we do to be saved and to get these things right. I mean, as long as it takes, we will focus on them. Let's go to Abuja for that now. Markwe?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I don't know whether Chamberlain was saying saved or safe, but either way, I do know that people need safety. We are now being joined in our studios by Mr. Rekpene Basi, who is a security consultant and is also the chairman of the president, beg your pardon, of the African Council on Narcotics. And we also have in the studio with us Vince Onyekwelu, who is a security consultant and also a former British police officer. Gentlemen, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Now, let us start with what you make, first and foremost, of the recent situation of security around the country. Has this come as any surprise to you? Some people think it is in the aftermath of the 2019 elections. We would usually see an uprise or an upsurge in the rate of crime across the country. Is this an upsurge, or do you think this is just people being more aware this is about the media rather than an upsurge indeed? Mr. West.
Well, I wouldn't think it's an upsurge. The Zamfara situation, for example, had been there even before elections, and so have we had the insurgency in the northeast well before elections, and pockets of security challenges across the country. So I could not possibly infer or conclude that this is a consequence of the aftermath of the elections. No, I don't think so.
What do you think, Vince?
I believe Nigeria is Nigeria. Obviously, if we don't have the right foundational principles to get our national security right, we can just keep moving from left, right, and center. We have not done what we're supposed to do. It's not about elections. We have problems with our national security, and we're not doing enough to tackle those problems. Although I must give kudos to the Minister of Interior with what he's doing right now about the West Africa ECOWAS countries biometric database that will actually make sure that West African citizens coming into Nigeria will have a biometric ID card, so we can now know who is Mr. A or Miss B or Mr. B. Right now, with that particular platform whereby we can know the foreigners coming to Nigeria, fantastic idea. The funding is there for them, and they're pushing forward to do that. At least that will give us a bit of responsibility when it comes to our border point. However, can we not do the same thing for our national identity card system? If we have a biometric for ECOWAS, when we've got something already working in Nigeria, can't we do the same thing to have Nigerian citizens to have a normal ID card system?
Which is a valid question, and I think it is a question that we should attack. However, do you think that there is an upsurge? I mean, whether or not this is in the aftermath of the 2019 general elections or not, do you see an upsurge in crime in recent times?
Definitely. When you compare 2019 elections, obviously the upsurge is not actually that high. We've been having issues of national security for the past couple of years, so I wouldn't say there's an upsurge. However, the issue of Zamfara makes it to feel as if it's an upsurge, but when it comes to the northern part of Nigeria, certainly there's an upsurge in the northern part of Nigeria when it comes to crime and violence, because we used to be talking about the insurgency group, the Boko Haram. Now it's now expanded to the herdsmen. Now it's now gone to kidnappers. Now it's now gone to the bandits. All right, so obviously when it comes to the northern Nigeria, yes, huge upsurge in issue of crime, loss of lives, and unaccounted death. A lot of school of thought we say that Nigeria in the north has recently turned almost a killing field, where you have unmarked graves of Nigerians. Because in Nigeria, people will die. There is no death certificate issued to them that they are dead. We don't even know if they're still with us or if they still exist. They just get buried the next morning in shallow graves. So there's an upsurge in crime in northern Nigeria, no doubt about that. But all over Nigeria, the same thing I will be going through. But in north, yes, I would say that.
You agree with him?
Well, I think there's an upsurge. There's been an upsurge, unfortunately, and it's disturbing, very disturbing. I mean, if you read the reports in the papers, in more recent times, about what's happening in places like Kaduna, Zamfara and some parts of Katsina State. You know, in fact, in one particular report, it was said that you know, the people were scrambling to get into the train in Kaduna because they couldn't come by road. And in fact, the Inspector General of Police recently had to deploy, you know,
launch operation.
Exactly,
yeah.
you know, to deal with kidnappings on the Kaduna-Abuja highway. You know, and so it's sufficiently disturbing. And I think that we need to be, you know, more proactive. You know, for the most part, you know, like the Inspector General of Police just deploying, you know, to deal with the situation decisively. I consider that in a reactive action, and usually security is best proactive than reactive. You know, the gains are a lot more. There's a lot more to gain and to achieve when you upon receipt of security intelligence, you know, have to deploy or take proactive action rather than waiting until things have gotten out of hand.
If you say that there is an upsurge indeed, from your or in your experience or your estimation, what do you think is responsible for the upsurge?
I think it's a sociological problem. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of unemployment in this country. You know, you have a lot of you have a lot of graduates who are out of school and have nothing to do. You know, and you know, people, there could also be political undertone to it. You know, like I said earlier, you know, it could also be, you know, in furtherance of the insurgency that's been going on, you know, in the northeast. But we also have banditry. If you read the report about what's going on in Zamfara State, there's a huge discovery of solid mineral gold in particular, and you know, for a long time now, you know, the prospecting and even mining of this has been going on, you know, surreptitiously. Not much was known about it, and then suddenly the bandits from wherever, or people from all around, you know, the West Coast, West Africa, and well, beyond, you know, have had to troop to Zamfara State in search of this, you know, and.
Before we even talk about the gold in Zamfara, let's not forget that Zamfara experienced cattle rustling at some point when the president had to go there and put his foot down on that particular matter. But, you know, Zamfara seems like it's even far away from Abuja. In the last couple of days, in neighboring Nasarawa state here, we did see some killings happening. I think it was at a birthday party. We understand that a woman was murdered at her son's birthday party, yeah. You know, and some 15 people or so killed. There was another one, I don't know if it's the same ceremony, but I think one was even a naming ceremony where somebody was murdered. You know, right here in neighboring Nasarawa state. In Abuja, for instance, kidnapping seems to be on the increase. We understand that some of the people who even do carry out these things, you know, have POS machines where they ask you to slot in your cards and, you know, they collect the money right there on the spot. You have to ask what precisely is going on. I mean, when we talk about these killings, it seems like it's so far away when you mention Zamfara. But if it's happening right here in the Federal Capital Territory, in your estimation as one who's a security consultant, first and foremost, I have to be sure that you have heard of these incidents, because it's possible that you might not have heard of them. Have you?
Yes, the Akwanga, the incident you're trying to narrate.
Yes.
You know, it's a situation that occurred in Akwanga, you know, at a party, you know, where some armed men just came around, opened fire, and killed a woman, including a pregnant woman. You know, and we have had cases of, you know, kidnappings, you know, around. So if you read the papers, obviously, you know, you would have heard about or, you know, learned about, you know, this incident. Like I said earlier, it's a reflection of the grisly sociological problem in the country, and underpinned mostly by, you know, unemployment. You know,
is it making people lose their humanity? Because when you think
Well,
of
if
people
someone is- if-
attacking a birthday party, for instance, what do they hope to get from a birthday party when they open fire recklessly?
If someone is
on people?
gainfully employed, he most likely would not take to criminality. Now, that's not to say that you know, poverty is a criminogenic factor, but who would know what had happened, transpired? It could be maybe a reprisal from a cult group. Only God knows, you know, what could have happened, you know. Maybe they had the individual who had his birthday party may have had, you know, some conflict if he was a member of a particular cult group, and they took advantage of this, you know, birthday party to come and reprise upon him and whoever was there. Or it could be, you know, some other cause that that I know little about. But I believe that for the most part, it will be well for when these kinds of incidents occur, you know, for us to have sufficient information from those who should offer the information, particularly the police, you know. So we may not be able to clearly understand the details of what had transpired, other than the fact that there must have been some strictures between and amongst those, you know, who were involved in this fracas that led to the death of so many individuals.
Well, Vince, you're a former police officer. Sometimes you have to ask if our police, I mean, I did put that question to Mr. Frank Mumba, and he said very clearly that no, the police is not overwhelmed. In fact, they are developing strategies to see how they can you know, tackle some of these problems. I mean, when I hear things like we're trying to nip it in the bud, I'm like, this is now a full-blown flower. There's no bud here that anyone is nipping anything in. What do you make, someone who is a former police officer, of what is currently going on with the security apparatus? Can you assess objectively whether our police really have the capacity to meet our challenges?
Lovely question. Personally, I believe that the Nigerian police force are doing the best they can do. But the question is, what they are doing, is it effective? The answer is no. Is it efficient? The answer is no. How close...
Do you want to be more specific on some of the measures?
When I say about being effective and efficiency, obviously, if I use a place like Zamfara, for example, we are having Nigerians dying in Zamfara, and people are now talking mostly about short-term measures. Stop the mining first. Fantastic idea, but it's only a short-term measure. What is the medium-term measure? Nothing. What is the long-term measure? Nothing. The bottom line that people are dying. The same thing with Kaduna State, Southern Kaduna. People are dying. What is the long-term measure? Nothing. You had issues about people being locked away, community chiefs being locked away for months in a prison, not even a police cell, and they've not been found guilty, but they're already in a prison. Now, the bottom line, states like Sokoto State, that used to be very calm, now we've got issues of banditry even in Sokoto State, that's supposed to be the Emirates, very peaceful for the last how many centuries now. Now, last night, a friend of mine was shot dead in Anambra State, point blank in an open market, shot point blank in Anambra State. We don't know what happened in Anambra State right now. Now, the bottom line is, are they effective? What is the foundational principles? Let me tell you Zamfara, for example. We know where the mines are located, the north or east or west of Zamfara State. What has the police to do? What we call a site survey to understand the topography. What is the traffic movement like? Are they moving from the east? Are you coming with a bike to enter these mines or motor cars? Understand the environment factors. Just like you've got Channels TV headquarters in Abuja. Does the local DPO understand the building? God forbid, in case of any kind of attack on Channels TV, do the local police chief understand where potentially the attacks will come in from? Where will my men step in from? Most don't have that idea. They are too reactive to criminal issues. If you understand the foundational principles, you understand, what am I doing? Do they have an emergency line to call victims? Bystanders? Can they call 122? Is it working across Nigeria? Or the so-called 199, is it working across the whole Nigeria? So if people cannot call a phone line to say, Mr. Police Officer, there is bandits attacking us here. There are 20, there are 30, come and help us. How do you know? Number 3, what is the platform for what we call the first responders? So when police officers come to a site of a crime in Zamfara or in Kaduna or in Abuja, Kaduna Road, what is the fundamentals for the first responders? Should they engage? Should they contain and cordon off? And then how do you communicate the other police officers? They use their mobile phones. The average number of police officers in Nigeria having their normal radio gadgets to communicate is very poor. They rely on their mobile phones. And mobile to mobile phone in crime fighting has its advantages and mostly big disadvantages. Because on a radio line, other officers can hear what is going on. They can bring heads together to know how to implement their actions. But one-to-one, nothing happens. So what is the victim care? People in Southern Kaduna have been killed. What are you doing with the victims that have lost their breadwinners in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Katsina? What are you doing? Victim care is very important to gathering intelligence. But in Nigeria, breadwinners are killed, their sons are left doing nothing. They have to resort back in crime to survive if care is not taken because there's unemployment in the country. So when you've got all these foundational principles not in action, it's ineffective, it's inefficient, and then finally, prosecution. How many people of the Boko Haram has been prosecuted in the past 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Almost zero. But what you hear, the army has neutralized Boko Haram bandits. 36. I love that number they use. Most of the time they use the same number, 36 have been killed. How they count 36, first time 36, second time 36, third time 36. Go and check the news. 36 is the number they always use. You've neutralized them. I've never seen anybody being prosecuted in any Nigerian lawful court. And now before you know it, after 1 year they say, oh, they've been de-radicalized and they've been reoriented with the society again. How come? No prosecution, no arrest, no prosecution, no imprisonment, no punishment. And now they are being introduced back to the society. When you bring them back to society, you give them a tag to know if they will reoffend after 3 months or after 6 months. We don't know nothing. They come to the society, whether they become Boko Haram or bandits, we don't know. It's a confused society. We are not doing enough. It's not effective. It's not efficient. We can do more. And it breaks my heart that lives are being lost every time. Unmarked graves, graveyards, killing fields, and people are not doing it enough. Nobody is being sacked. Nobody is resigning. It's just the poor masses are losing their lives.
I think,
yes.
you know, when you say the police is incapable or, you know, is lacking in capacity to effectively carry out law enforcement activities, you must weigh this against some of the challenges the Nigerian police currently faces. See, Nigerian police is grossly underfunded. You know, one of the least funded police institutions around the world. You know,
that is no longer news.
Oh yeah, they're on demand.
Sadly.
You know, sorry. Oh yeah, on demand. You have the entire strength of the Nigerian police presently is about 380,000 police officers. You know, at a ratio of 1 to 14, which is the standard, or 222 to 1,000 person per population. You know, in terms of you know, manning. You know, which is also the standard. You know, and then, you know, they are under-equipped, you know, and under-catered for. If a policeman, the insurance for a policeman per annum, as provided from the budget, it's about 900 less than 1,000 naira for a policeman, you know, insurance for that policeman. The allocation for vehicle maintenance and fueling, and there are about 11,000 plus vehicles, operational vehicles, you know, in the possession of the Nigerian police. What is available for fueling, it's about you know, less than 1,200, you know, per station per day, 360 days. You know, so if you put all of these challenges together, it's not difficult to understand why police may be lacking in capability or capacity to be able to, as first responders, you know, effectively tackle, you know, criminality, you know, and other law enforcement challenges.
So as a people, you would say that we are also just paying lip service to security?
Well, yeah, if you consider it against the philosophy generally of the fact that, you know, crime prevention is everybody's business, you'll be correct. You know, you'll be correct. You know, because there's a lot more rhetorics about these things, a lot more talking about these things than actual action. So to that extent, you'll be correct.
However, you know, people are losing their lives. The police,
fortunately,
even though yes, they complain about funding, and they have the current IG hasn't minced words about funding. Nonetheless, they still say we can do this job. and we're doing our best to do the job. We've seen the IG make visits to Zamfara State, make visits to Sokoto State, make visits to the states that have been affected in recent time. He was in Kaduna as well. He's also launched Operation Pop Adder. Since he's launched it, we have not heard any case of kidnapping along the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway. So it would seem that where there is a will, there is a way in many instances. The question is, how sustainable are these operations that have been launched? I mean, and Mr. Vince talked about the temporary ban on mining in Zamfara, for instance, and how long that is going to go on for if there is no medium-term plan. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, let's begin with or commence with, you know, the point you made about Zamfara. Whenever there is a ban on anything, then you have the criminal underworld flourishing, doing very well. So what's going to happen is that because you don't have the manpower sufficiently to, you know, to prevent, you know, to deploy, you know, to ensure that this order is efficiently implemented, you know, you're going to have a lot of criminal underworld activities going on in mining, and more money will be made by certain, you know, individuals. You know, but Section 215 of the Constitution provides, empowers the police, first responders, the lead agency in crime prevention to, you know, or law enforcement, you know, to go about their activities. And I think we must commend the present Inspector General of Police, you know, for doing the best he can in the circumstances. Sustainability is a question of will, you know. If there's the will, there will be a way. But because we realize that these things are actual, you know, they are realities, the challenges are there, crime is there, and there's an upward swing or surge in criminality in this country. All we need to do collectively as a people in a nation is to determine, to be able to, you know, come together and put our heads together. If you have two individuals, you have three ideas. You know, resolve that, look, we must fight crime to a standstill if crime will not destroy this country. Crime has the potential, criminality has the potential to dislocate the economy, the politics, and other, you know, social fabrics of this country. So sustainably, we need to come together to, you know, to tackle this problem effectively. And then we need to be as proactive as we possibly can be. Let me tell you something, a strategy we adopted when I was security advisor in Cross River State. We used members of the public very, very effectively. How? We gave out helplines. You know, I sought the permission of the then Commissioner of Police, Samson Wuda, who we were working with, you know, to give out even his direct line. And we put that out, including my line and the lines of some other, you know, commanders in the state, including the brigade commander, Air Force commander, you know, and the rest of them. We said to members of the public, if you give us useful information, we'll give you some incentive. If we find out that this information they have given us about criminal elements is useful and we can put it to good use, we'll give you some incentive. One day, the Commissioner of Police received a call from, you know, an informant who told him about the fact that there were certain armed robbers who were, after operation, resting somewhere. The information was precise. So the Commissioner of Police called up the officer in charge of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad and ordered him to proceed to, you know, effect the arrest of these criminals. The information was so precise such that they didn't only proceed to the location where the armed robbers were, they were arrested. The information about where they kept their arms was also as precise. The arms were recovered and they were all taken in. We have members of the public cooperating with government, and, you know, to, be able to achieve some of these feats. It will be very helpful.
I'll definitely be asking more questions on community policing and why it is that we haven't explored it as much as we ought to. When we come back from this break, please stay with us.